killing our farm across the dust. Anyways, let's assume, for the sake of argument, between pruning, fertilizer, and water, you're going to spend $3,000 a year to maintain your acre of blueberries max. So if you've got a low yield of $24,000, that nets you out about $21,000 net profit per year. You got to sit out there with a box for 6 weeks to collect money. If you have a good year, let's say you're at $35,000, $40,000, same cost. So an acre of blueberries or blackberries should net you out profit $21,000 to $30,000 per year. Now keep in mind, that's for the next 10 to 15 years, every year after you make your initial investment. Run that through your accountant. It's very, very profitable. Now let's take a look at what grows. In the blackberry world, we've got two kinds of blackberries. And speaking of blackberries, the University of Arkansas is the leading developer of blackberry plants in the world, period. They're very, very good on blackberries. And most of the commercial varieties and patent varieties are developed by the University of Arkansas. There are two types of blackberries, primocane and floricane. Primocane means it fruits on the current year's growth. And they're all thorny. But they're different. And the difference is they fruit on the tip of the plant. So just because it's thorny does not mean you're going to get beat up picking the plant because the berries are on the tip. Now there are thorny floricane. And what that means is it's a thorny blackberry bush that fruits on the next year's growth. In other words, it grows a vine this year and fruits on that vine next year. Most of the varieties of blackberries that people plant are thornless varieties. And all thornless varieties of blackberries are floricane, which means it grows a vine this year and fruits on that vine next year. This is a floricane blackberry, which will grow another 2 to 3 feet this year. And this is going to be a 1-year-old plant by the end of this growing season. Actually, it's a 2-year-old plant, wouldn't it be, by the end of this growing season. This is called a 1-gallon floricane thornless blackberry. These are semi-erect, which means you don't have to trellis them. Okay? Certain varieties of blackberries, like Triple Crown, you have to trellis. And even with this, you have to put up some guide wires, because what's going to happen, you'll get so many blackberries it will weigh the cane down, and you'll be picking blackberries off the ground. This plant will yield, once it's mature, another year from now, 5 to 8 pounds of blackberries per year. And what do the blackberries look like? Well, this is the picture of Dr. Clark, who developed that plant right over there. That's me in the background, and that's Lydia's hand right there. And you can see they're about a mouthful of berry. We can pass that around. That's the actual berry size of a prime Arc 45 blackberry. Or actually, that's is that a Navajo? Prime Arc 45. And a Prime Arc 45 is a primocane blackberry. In other words, it grows a cane this year and fruits in the fall. Now, there's an advantage of primocane blackberries in this neck of the woods. What do you suppose it is? Why would you want a primocane blackberry in Arkansas or Oklahoma? Anybody got any ideas? It fruits in the fall. Blackberries, summer fruit in July. It's hotter in July, isn't it? People, do you think would people like to go out in September and October and pick blackberries when it's a little cooler? Yeah, they would. So there is a marketplace for a fall-bearing blackberry. Because guess what? You're the only in town that's got fall-bearing blackberries. Everybody else had them in the summer. The variety's only been around for 2 years. Most people don't even know it exists. So it was just patented 2 years ago. And me and Lydia and several other producers, if that many, are the only places in the whole country you can buy them. You know, like you can walk down to Walmart and say, give me a Prime Arc 45. It doesn't work that way. So there's a huge advantage for the U-pick grower in the blackberry market to take advantage of the fall market, particularly if you're doing something else like apples or pumpkins or Lord knows what. Now, a lot of people think a U-Pick operation is selling blueberries and blackberries. You're wrong. It's selling entertainment. It's not about picking blueberries or blackberries. It's loading the kids in the car, going out, getting lost in the country, picking a bunch of blueberries or blackberries, then you got to take them home, and guess what? You got to do something with them. Now, you spend $30 or $40 on U-Pick. What's it cost to take the kids to the movie? The difference is they forget about the movie the next day, but they're going to remember going out to the farm for their entire life. Plus the fact you're getting a much better bang for your buck. You're giving them healthy, quality food. And why is U-Pick popular? Because people like healthy, quality food. They want to know where the food's coming from these days. Not to mention that food isn't exactly cheap anymore. Now, blackberries are very productive in this area. Any part in Zone 7, which you're all in, is Zone 8, or even Zone 5. Zone means the hardness zone that you need to have the plant. Blackberries require a minimal amount of chilling hours. That's degrees below 40 degrees that it requires to fruit. And blackberries are kind of a glorified weed, next to impossible to kill if you water them. But you got to be careful. There's a difference of tissue-cultured virus-index blackberries as opposed to a bare root blackberry. A bare root blackberry is you get a stick that looks dead with a bunch of roots. And one thing it tells you, the plant, number one, is not tissue-cultured and not virus-indexed, and number two, it's been in the ground. And what's in the ground? Nematodes. Nematodes are little lovely bugs that like roots. And in Texas, for example, you can't even ship anything to Texas unless it's nematode certified. The state inspector has to come out and see it, feel, and touch it, and certify it before it even goes into the state. Okay, nematodes will destroy your crop. Now, a bare root product is somebody that's had blackberries and taken cutting for the last 50 years. Oh, we're going to give you a deal. We got a bare root cutting for $2. Well, we forgot to tell you that the viruses are crawling out of the plant. When you buy a bare root plant, that's like going to a yard sale, buying a used pair of tennis shoes, and being dumb enough to want to know why you have athlete's foot. It's been in the ground, and you don't know where it's been in the ground. And you don't know where the cutting was taken from or what the plant was taken from. They're basically glorified junk. And there isn't a commercial grower in their right mind that's going to plant a bare root, non-virus index plant. Unless, of course, you want to have a bunch of plants with low yield, which is exactly what you get. A tissue culture plant has never been in the ground. Virus indexing means it's actually started from a cell in a test tube. It's been a sterile environment all its life. It's grown in sterilized soil. And when you get it, you got a plant that's going to grow twice as fast, yield twice as much, and have zero diseases. So you're going to pay a little bit more? Yeah, you are. $1, $2 a plant. But you're going to get twice the return on investment half the time. It's like getting a deal on an Edsel at your local Ford dealer, if you want one. So do not, under any circumstances, buy bare root. You're setting yourself up. Now, in the blueberry world, blueberries are very, very popular. And as you can see, this right here is a 4 to 5-year-old blueberry bush. Now, blueberries start yielding in 3 to 4 years. And a blueberry plant will grow and in 40% of its existing size per year, and the yield will increase by 40%. So you figure on a 3 to 4-year-old bush, you're only going to get a pound, maybe 2. Well, next year you're going to get a plant's going to be 40% bigger, so you're going to go up to 3 to maybe 4. Now, the 5th year, you're going to increase by 40%, so now you're up to 4 to 6. And in the 6th year, you should be 6 to 10 to 12. Some varieties, like the rabbit eye varieties developed by the University of Georgia, will yield 10 to 15 pounds of blueberries a year. That's a huge amount of blueberries. Those are called rabbit eye. Now, in the blueberry world, there's 5 different kinds of blueberries in existence. You got the Maine blueberries, which are little blueberries that they rake. You don't want those. They're not going to grow down here, and they're small. The people in Maine grow them. You have half-highs, which are developed primarily by the University of Minnesota. They're blueberries, which taste a lot like a Maine blueberry. They grow about 4 feet tall, kind of fat, not a bad yield. But they're smaller berries, but they taste a lot better, and they have higher antioxidant. Some people love the smaller blueberries. Those are called half-highs. You got to be careful. They can't go into Zone 8. There's not enough chilling hours. We can do them in Zone 7, though. And we're in Zone 7. Then you have northern high bush. Now, I know that people in Arkansas think they're in the south. Well, the blueberries think they're in the north here. The northern high bush goes from Zone 3, which is Minnesota, all the way down to Zone 7, and summer will go to 8. Okay, that's a northern high bush. And northern high bush are excellent tasting berry. We have rabbit eyes. And they call a rabbit eye. They're primarily developed by the University of Georgia. And they kind of grow in that belt between 7 and 8. They're a limited variety. They won't grow too far north. They won't grow too far south. And now we have southern high bush. Those are higher yielding berries. And because of our climate change, a lot of the Zone 8 rated are now rated 7. Okay, but now who do you suppose sets the hardness zone rating on blueberries?